So I'm going to start this one off just a little bit differently. And then I will jump in to the comments. But Natalie Decker had a TikTok that she put out that was super vague. And I think it being super vague, it's TikTok. It's only going to be surface level, right? But it was a super vague TikTok, and she's catching a lot of flack for it. And I think it's sort of a lot of in the messenger instead of paying attention maybe to the message. So let's jump into that real quick, starting off heavy, and then we'll get into the rookie of the year battle between Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs, and the other rookie of the year battles that I'm not. The Truck Series has a ton of them, so I don't know if I can keep up with all those. But she put out a TikTok, Natalie Decker did, that said, "You sacrificed your whole life to compete in this sport that feeds you and the public that they support women." So once again, you sacrificed and worked your whole life to compete in the sport that feeds you and the public BS that they support women. And of course, she is talking about NASCAR there. So a lot of people's first response to this has been they want to take out the messenger. They point out that Natalie Decker is probably not the best person to give this message. And here is why they say that. Because in 2014, Natalie Decker won 3 or 4 super late model races or something like that. And she got a development contract with a Kawicki development driver. And then she got the Rev Racing NASCAR diversity development contract. And she has had multiple starts in the Truck Series and at this point, Xfinity Series as well. The results in round track haven't been there. She has had some good results in the Trans Am Series, in fact, winning a race in Trans Am in that same stretch, but only one top 5 in all of those starts in trucks and Xfinity. So a lot of people, and the fact that she was brought up through NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program, a lot of people point out that she's not necessarily the best person to make this particular argument, especially if you look at other drivers who in that same basically period of time, you've got Bobby McCarty, 3-time Cars Tour champion. You've got Jared Fryer. He's got at least 2 Cars Tour championships, one in super late models, one in late models. And then you even got Josh Berry. Josh Berry won everything in sight, NASCAR Weekly Series champion. He has got a Cars Tour championship. And the only reason that guy's getting a chance is because he's friends with Dale Jr. So like, make no doubt about it. He won all that stuff. And Natalie Decker, she does have 4 wins, but they were not necessarily at those touring levels. So a lot of people are basically, trying to take out the messenger here because they don't like the messenger. But does she have a point? And that's what I want to get at. The tweet is so vague, though. She basically, I guess what she's basically saying, and I have to take a guess at this because the tweet is so vague. I guess what she's basically saying is NASCAR is publicly saying, "Hey, we support women," but they're virtue signaling, right? We support women, but behind the scenes, they don't really support women. So my question would be, just because that's so vague, are you saying you're not getting opportunities from NASCAR? Because my counterpoint to that would be NASCAR doesn't own the race teams. So to get a chance with a race team with these opportunities you've actually been given through the Drive for Diversity program, if you're going out there and win races, maybe some race teams would look at you and pick you up that way. But NASCAR doesn't control the race teams. NASCAR doesn't control the sponsors. I know there was a hubbub about the Busch Light sponsorship. A, Busch Light got attacked for doing the female forward sponsorship. And then B, some of the drivers that were in the Busch Light forward, the futurist female, whatever that thing was called or is called, some of the drivers backed out because they said they weren't getting any money from Busch Light. So it's been a disaster on 2 fronts. like one front didn't want them to ever have it to begin with, and the other front said, "Hey, you're actually not giving us money." So, but once again, that's not NASCAR. That is a sponsor. So if you look at what NASCAR has actually done, Joanna Long is sort of trending now amongst people because that's a person they're actually pointing to. She actually did really well with her opportunities, but never got a chance. So I guess since in between that, NASCAR has put in place the Drive for Diversity to get other women. So I don't see where you can necessarily put it on NASCAR, but also she's done a lot of damage to her brand. So obviously she feels some kind of way putting this out there. I mean, she's going to be radioactive basically to any type of sponsor here going forward. So she obviously feels some kind of way to put this out there. Either that or she's having a really bad day. We've all had bad days and said things we regret. And she has taken down the TikTok since then. So it could be one or the other. But with this being so vague, I don't really want to read into what she actually meant, other than to say I would like to see some specifics of what she's talking about with NASCAR. Or does she really mean NASCAR teams are not giving female drivers a chance? I would really like to see what she's actually talking about. Is she complaining about the sponsors? Super super vague TikTok, and she's taking it down. Was she just having a bad day? Does she really feel some kind of way about this? But a lot of people are taking out the messenger because of who the messenger is. And we're not really going to question the message. It's going to be one of those deals where Natalie Decker is going to get a lot of hate, and the actual issue she's bringing up, I think, is going to get ignored. So that's where I stand with it. It's just super vague, and I mean, it's TikTok. It's a TikTok. It's never gonna. It's just like Twitter. It's never gonna get beyond surface level with some forms of social media. So I thought that was interesting, and I did want to address it. But yeah, now I will get to the comments and see what we are talking about there. Dwayne Mueller says she is from the Decker snowmobile racing family. Yeah, I know she comes from a pretty good background, so that's going to be. She does have some clout as far as that goes. And like I said, I think it's just so vague what she's saying. Unless she points out, she does two things that I always don't like. I will say this: when somebody complains about something, they're not specific about what they're actually talking about. They don't give you any specifics, so you can't really dive into it and counterpoint them. And the other thing is, you don't offer a solution to how they can fix it. You can complain all day about things, right? You can complain all day about things, but unless you offer some type of solution, some type of path forward to correct those things, what good is it? So those are two things. If you're going to complain about something, be specific about exactly about what it is you're complaining about. And the other thing is, offer a solution. Otherwise, you're just complaining to feel better. Which there's nothing wrong with complaining to feel better. Sometimes it just is that you're trying to feel better, just trying to make your voice heard that you're displeased with something. Mark Barnum says yes, Twain, and Molten Ray says Joanna Long is the only woman who should be saying this. She's really the only one. So I wouldn't say she's the only one. I'd pump the brakes on that, but she is one that definitely could not get a sponsor, and she had good results in the efforts that she had, for sure. I wouldn't say she's the only one though. From these past 2 decades that has gotten messed over by NASCAR, not Decker. But but here's my issue with it. Is it NASCAR or is it sponsors and race teams? NASCAR doesn't control the sponsors. NASCAR doesn't control the race teams. So I'm not seeing how NASCAR not giving people opportunities. NASCAR has a Drive for Diversity program, so they get you up to a certain level, but NASCAR, and they just can't. NASCAR can't own cars in the Truck Series. NASCAR can't own cars in the Xfinity Series, and NASCAR can't own cars in the Cup Series because it creates a conflict of interest. So let's say they did. Let's say NASCAR owns a Cup car. They own the number 67. They own the number 67. NASCAR, whatever they want to sponsor it with. Right, and they put Joanna Long in there, and Joanna Long wins a race in the NASCAR 67 car. Guess what the first thing everybody's going to say is, yeah, NASCAR doctored that car and they let it through tech with all this legal stuff. So NASCAR, they can't own cars at the Cup level. So if NASCAR can't own cars at the Cup level, people getting opportunities is solely based on team and sponsorship. You have to bring sponsorship and to get onto a team, and that's basically the way it is. So really, I guess if you really want to complain about this, you really should be complaining that sponsors aren't getting behind women. And once again, the TikTok is vague. I don't know specifically what she's talking about, but if she's talking about opportunities, the way you've seen things go so far, everybody complains about Riley Herbst being a pay driver. So I'm just going to use him as an example. If you can get funding behind you, and I know Riley Herbst's funding comes from his family, but if you can get funding behind you and you're a female, you could be driving a car just like Riley Herbst. So I would say instead of pointing the finger at NASCAR, I would be pointing the finger at sponsors. There are all these corporations, right, that want to virtue signal and act like they're about something, but then just to sell you product, to be like, oh, the future is female, we want to sell you product, but then they're not actually doing anything to help. So I would put more of my focus on the sponsors and the corporations that are doing all this virtue signaling. and don't actually have any follow through. Which, I mean, if you, I'm not 25 years old. You know, I'm not Natalie Decker's age. I also grew up in a different era. We were always very skeptical of corporations in my era. So I think she's saying NASCAR, in my opinion, but what I think she really means is the corporations that are sponsoring drivers are not getting behind females, and that's why you're not seeing a lot of female opportunity. I don't think it's NASCAR, because if you look at it from NASCAR's perspective, they're trying to sell races, and it's always going to be more interesting to sell races when you have a bigger portfolio of drivers to pull from, right? You want every demographic of race car driver because it's going to pull in every demographic of eyeball on that race to watch it. So I actually don't think NASCAR is the one that is limiting opportunities. I think it's these massive corporations that are virtue signaling, that are not following through with their words on, you know, Twitter and Facebook and wherever they're virtue signaling at. So that's actually how I feel about it.